Welcome to this special edition of the Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright, Jr., the founder and host of this show. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 88th episode, and it's a special edition tonight. We are in the beautiful town of Mayesville, South Carolina, this evening at the Mary McLeod Bethune Learning Center and Art Gallery. In honor of Black History Month, I've decided to visit the home of Mary McLeod Bethune, being that she is certainly one of the pioneers in organized educational practices for people of African American descent. My guest this evening is Mr. George E. Frierson, who is the curator of the Mary McLeod Bethune Learning Center and Art Gallery. Mr. Frierson, it is absolutely my pleasure to finally get the opportunity to be here with you this evening.
All right, the honor is mine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So please start by telling us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do here as curator.
Well, I'm going to give you, one day I walk every day 5 to 10 miles. And one morning I was walking and my phone rang, and it was Mayor Geraldine Holloman Miller on the other end. And she asked me a profound question. She said, Mr. Frierson said, would you consider serving as the curator for the Mary McLeod Bethune Learning Center and Art Gallery? And I said bluntly, I said, Your Honor, I said, I'm retired and I'm not looking for no job.
Okay.
But after our discussion, and she said, would you reconsider? And then I thought real quick, this is what I do anyway.
That's right.
And I have a permanent setting. And I gave her 2 conditions. And she said, what else? I said, that was it. She said, that's it. So I'll be looking for you Thursday.
Okay.
And so ever since that happened, I've had a congenial relationship with the mayor and the town of Mayesville, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity.
Yes, sir. And the mayor is a descendant of Mary McLeod Bethune.
Mary is the great grandniece of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Very good, very good. So what an honor, I'm sure, when
it
you
is an
called
honor.
and
That's the reason I said yes, because of her connection to Dr. Bethune.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, Mr. Frierson, please educate our viewers about the work of Mary McLeod Bethune and the many barriers I'm sure that she faced, navigated, and successes that she had throughout her journey. We know now that many schools, even today, are named after her. But talk to us about that.
Well, Dr. Bethune was born on a plantation right here in the town of Mayesville. She's the 15th of 17 children.
Sir.
Mom and dad took that serious, that be fruitful and multiply.
Yes, sir.
And so some of her elder siblings were born under the institution of slavery. And she had this desire and this vision to teach and she just loved learning. And whatever venue it took her to, she went and sought education. And she actually was educated. Her first educational teacher was a lady, right, also a resident of Mayesville. Her name is Emma Jean Wilson.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And Miss Emma Jean Wilson is actually buried out at the Mayesville Community Cemetery, along with some of her bigger family. But Dr. Bethune had that vision, and her family supported her vision, and they got her to go to Scotia College and Bible Scotia College and other things, and then the vision kicked in.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
she was propelled and motivated that she wanted to do something that would be profound and be remembered. She went to Daytona Beach, Florida, and with $1.50 by some account and a Bible.
Oh, wow.
Seeking to do good. And she started the Daytona Beach Industrial School and Normal School for colored girls. And I think it was actually established on the 3rd of October of 1904.
Yes, sir.
And a few years later, it merged with Cookman College and became Bethune-Cookman University. And she acted as the first president of that college. And the only grave that is at that college is her grave.
Uh-huh. And that's on the campus of
That is on the campus of Bethune-Cookman College.
Yes, sir. I remember as a student at North Carolina Central, we played Bethune-Cookman a time or two. So yes,
Did y'all win?
Most times, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for that. So, we know that Mary McLeod Bethune was an awesome leader. The legacy lives way past her being deceased. But what efforts should be taken, in your opinion, to preserve the legacy of prominent educational leaders?
Well, Dr. Wright, I a historian, and I believe in following the law if the law is just.
Yes, sir. That's why I asked.
And the deal is, Dr. King made a profound statement. He said it's not wrong to disobey an unjust law.
Yes, sir.
And he also said riots is the language of the unheard.
Okay.
So when we see people rioting, it's because they are seeking something, or they're fighting oppression, injustice, or whatever. And so when I look at Dr. King, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and our other prominent forefathers and foremothers, it inspires me to continue to tell the story. And when I'm sitting in here, when no one is around, amongst these iconic Black men and Black women who have done so much for our race, it strengthens me. And I realize that there are the shoulders on which I stand.
Yes, sir. And me too. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Awesome. Awesome. So just today, I was in my office a few miles from here, reading an article on, it was a winter 2023 edition of an article of a magazine called School CEO. Mm-hmm. This is what I learned. 83% of today's teachers across the United States are white, 12% Latino, 8% African American. How do you believe we can continue to attract people of color to enter the teaching profession? Because we need to do more of that.
We definitely do. The thing is our pay scales. We have to give people a livable wage.
Yes, sir.
And also some of the, I'm saying, rules that our school, and I'm speaking as a former school board chairman.
Yes, sir. Right. That's right. That's correct.
And it actually pushes a lot of young men who may have a desire. And then, of course, the law itself, if you have a small criminal violation on your record, like let's say a marijuana infringement, which marijuana is legal in this country in many states, then that exempts you from that. And some of our young men, when they were young, they actually did some things that kind of reach up in later in life, and this is an inhibitant of that. And I'm going to say our upper administrative hierarchy, and I'm going to say this, and it may be taken in the wrong way, but I got to say it.
Yes, sir.
Young black men, I mean, in our classrooms are not understood by young white females, who is the predominant teachers in our schools. Mm-hmm. And rather than to try to work with them, they are actually write them up. And this is a discouragement, even early in life. In fact, if I may say, on yesterday, February 8th, the anniversary of the Orangeburg Massacre, I had a call from a young black mother as I was doing my morning walk. And she said, Mr. George said, are you going to go and be the shadow of my son today? And I'm about 2 miles from home.
Right.
And I'm out walking, and I said, okay, I'll get there. So I went there yesterday at East Clarendon Middle High School, and I will not call his name, but I spent the day with him. Yes, and sir. I'm pretty sure he didn't want this old dude sitting with him all day. And I will call him mother probably the weekend to see whether there was any adjustment to his attitude or whatever. But we were told by the teachers and the principals, he's a smart young guy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and sir. We can see evidence about that. But I think he kind of want to be seen. And I don't know what else, but we're going to fall up and follow through.
Right. And that's the key. We need more involvement. We need the community needs to re-embrace our children. There's no Amen. Question about that. And if we can get that done, we'll be a lot better off. So you've got a lot of wonderful artifacts here. Let's talk about some of those.
Well, I'm going to lift this one up.
Okay.
This is something that I put together to honor Dr. Bethune. And it actually says one of our old hymnal songs, "Me the work I've done speak for me."
Yes, sir.
And I portrayed her with 3 giants. Okay. The one on the bottom, my bottom left, is actually a native of South Carolina. His name is Osceola McCain. And Osceola, in the mid-1940s, actually started some protests, actually ran as the first black, as a Democrat in the South from the state of South Carolina to the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
This right over here is my bottom right. That's George Washington Murray, who was called a Republican Black Eagle from Limerick, South Carolina. And he was actually born under the institution of slavery.
Okay.
On September the 22nd, 1853. Of course, this is Dr. Bethune amongst these giants, and the young man over on the top left. I don't have enough time to talk about him, but on January the 6th of 1874, remember the date? I say January the 6th, 1874, at the U.S. Capitol, he stood in a joint session of Congress and said these words: "What you give to one class of citizen, you must give to all. What you deny to one class, you shall deny to all. The passage of this bill will determine the civil status not only of the Negro, but of any other class of citizen who may feel themselves discriminated against."
Okay.
And this is the Honorable Robert Brown Elliott that was spoken, as I said, on January the 6th, 1874. And actually, he was from Columbia, South Carolina, born in Boston, Massachusetts, came here. The only black man that sat as the Attorney General of the state of South Carolina. He is the former Speaker of the South Carolina House.
Okay.
He's the first full-blooded black in the U.S. Congress, and many other things. And but I just thought of Dr. Bethune in the category of these men.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this is where she stands in my life. And so there's a beautiful picture over your right shoulder of her in her middle age. And every time I walk in and I see it, and that red catches my eye, and I have to.
I was gonna say the lady in red. How about
the lady in red?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, of course,
Outstanding.
this young man in the gray, this is Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, the 7th president of Morehouse.
Yes, sir.
Actually was born on August the 1st, 1894 in a little place called Epworth, Greenwood County, South Carolina.
Okay.
Now, most people identify him with Georgia, though he's physically interred. He's physically buried in Georgia because he also sat on the Georgia School Board while he was there. This young man right here, this is Dr. Edward McLeod Brawley, who was born in 1851 in a little place called Charleston, South Carolina. This is the first president, the founding president of Morris College.
Okay. And Morris is in Sumter, South Carolina.
In Sumter, South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And of course, that young man over in the blue over there, being a Vietnam veteran, I look at him in a totally different perspective. In World War I, when they were on the field of battle, and all the officers had been killed or wounded,
yes, sir.
He took control. Okay. And he inspired his men to go forward. He died on the field of battle. Actually, he's buried in Moose Argonne Cemetery in Argonne, France. He's not buried on American soil. He is the first black from World War I to receive the Medal of Honor, although he was the second recommended, because the first, William Henry Johnson from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, was actually the first who actually received his June the 2nd, 2015, when our commander-in-chief was a guy named Barack Hussein Obama II.
Okay.
So when we look back at the records of those who have served, and I was always told, well, that's picture say, made a workout, don't speak for me.
Yes, sir.
And they did work. They served their country. And so when I look at the gentleman that preceded President Biden, who actually was born on June the 14th of 1946 in New York City, actually born on the anniversary of the establishment of the Army.
Okay.
That's when he was actually born. And I refuse to call his name.
Okay. I will proceed to the next question. How about that? I'm not going to call it either. Mary McLeod Bethune was certainly a leader that left a tremendous legacy. We just heard about part of that. But in today's time, right now, we're starving for leaders.
Okay.
Who are some of our leaders now, and where do we get the next generation of leaders, in your opinion?
Well, I wasn't too much prepared to answer that one, Doc, but I see a whole cadre
yes, sir.
of young visionary people.
Yes, sir.
Maxwell Frost, who's the first one of Gen Z from
Okay.
Florida to actually be elected to the U.S. Congress.
You own it. You're on it.
Yeah,
All right.
you know, we follow recent news, but back to these people I just portrayed, they inspired another generation of people
Okay.
like these people up here.
Okay.
Briggs v. Elliott was actually the first of the 5 cases that were combined and went to the United States Supreme Court as Brown versus the Board of Education. And it was actually named after their 8-year-old son, Harry Briggs Jr. And so this is Mr. Harry Briggs Sr. and Mr. Eliza Gamma Briggs. And by the way, Mr. Harry Briggs Sr. was a Navy veteran.
Okay.
And Harry Briggs Jr. was a military veteran. He was in the Army.
Okay.
And as a result of their action, these 2 people over your head, right here, this is Lieutenant Colonel James E. Randall, actually sued the Sumter School District 2 at that time when they had 2 school districts.
I wasn't the superintendent.
No, you weren't the superintendent.
let me clarify. Go right ahead. Go ahead. You can continue now.
No, I'm not going to call the name of the superintendent, but his own yet. So I'm gonna leave him to history, Doc.
Yes, sir.
But this Tuskegee Airman wanted equal education opportunity for his children, and Sumter School District 2 Board of Trustees denied that. And they got together and they sued him. And because he was an active duty military person, the Army, the military took up his case, and I guess I don't have to tell you how that went.
That's right.
And this beautiful lady and her husband, they actually sued Sumter School District 2 also when you weren't the superintendent. And she actually, it was a employment case.
Yes, sir.
Where they had already have her letter of agreement, and they got together because she was politically active. They chose to not offer her a contract, and she got these guys to represent her. There's a guy named Ernest A. Finney Jr. was one of her lawyers.
Okay.
There's a guy named Donald James Sampson from Greenville was her lawyer. There's a guy named Lincoln C. Jenkins from Columbia, South Carolina was her lawyer. There's a guy named Matthew J. Perry. The Matthew J. Perry Federal Courthouse in Columbia is named after him. That was her lawyer. So I don't have to tell you too much, Doc, how that went either.
Yes, sir. That's a dream team for real there.
That is a dream team.
Yeah. So awesome. And most of these folks are from the state of South Carolina.
All of these folks are from South Carolina.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So the work here and the vision here, talk to us about that. I mean, how did this come about? And I know you came on as curator, but talk a little bit about the vision of the mayor.
Well, when the mayor was in New York, and she had a vision to come back to South Carolina and bring something back to South Carolina, and I wholeheartedly embrace that. And the sad thing about it is, some of us, we have blinders on.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not calling any names specifically, but I'm here personally on Fridays and Saturdays, and I make myself very visible. And I tell people, if I'm here, if you're not doing anything, just walk in.
Yeah, sure. Yes, sir.
Get exposed to something. And usually the people that comes are from out of town. In fact, I just told the mayor, I have a group of 30 coming, and they're coming from Camden. And right. So that's in Kershaw County. So it is so sad. But then I remember the words of our Lord: a prophet is without honor, except in his own home.
Yes, sir.
In his own country, in his own family.
Yes, sir.
And so when we have that vision and others don't see it, the sad part about us, we seem to try to fight it, try to undermine it. And that's what's happening right here in the state of South Carolina, because I'm glad I have this right up here, Doc.
Okay.
These are the original founders of the Republican Party in South Carolina.
Okay.
And these men are Benjamin Franklin Randolph, Robert Smalls, Robert Brown Elliott, and others.
Okay.
And in October of 1867, they established the Republican Party. What's unique about these men? These are all black men.
Yes, sir.
So, right. You know, we the Democrat Party at that time was the conservatives. And these people here had a vision. And on January the 14th through the 17th, March the 17th of 1868, they had a constitutional convention. And it was a gathering in 163 King Meeting Street in Charleston.
Okay.
And when they met, by some accounts, there were 71 blacks and 42 whites running the state.
Oh.
So South Carolina is the third majority black republic.
Yes, sir.
Behind Haiti and Liberia. And South Carolina is the third. So
Okay.
out of the 50 states, South Carolina is the only state that has ever had a majority black government.
Okay.
And it is sad to see now what's going on in our state General Assembly right now.
I was gonna say that's not quite the case now.
And it's not quite the case.
Yes, sir. But that's great history.
And that, but even before them,
Yes, sir.
there's a gentleman on the back of this page. This is Captain Paul Cuffey. And Captain Paul Cuffey was born in the 1750s or the 1740s.
Okay.
And him and his brother, this was just before the Revolutionary War. And during the Revolutionary War, they say, well, if we can't vote, we won't pay no taxes. And guess what? They let them vote. So one thing I'm saying, he's saying that is, if you want to hit certain people, just hit the pocketbook.
Okay.
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 And he's saying that, Doc. I also want to share something about South Carolina. South Carolina is also the home to the first black regiment in the United States military.
Okay.
The first South Carolina Volunteers actually was established on August the 25th of 1862 down near Beaufort, South Carolina, at a place called Camp Saxton.
Okay.
And this was their nurse and their teacher.
How about that?
14-year-old Susie Baker King Taylor. She
Wow.
was 14. And she wrote a memoir about her life with the South Carolina Volunteers, and then they were actually converted and renamed the 33rd U.S. Color Troop.
Okay.
And this is her, and she's actually buried in Mattapan, Massachusetts.
Okay. Okay.
And these people here on the back, these are the first guys to go to West Point. And
Okay.
2 of those 6 are South Carolinians, with the first one, James Webster Smith, being born in 1850 in a little place called Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay. All right.
And actually, he passed on the 29th of November of 1876 at the age of 26. This is Johnson Chestnut Whitaker, who was at one time was the principal of Lincoln High School in Sumter, South Carolina.
All right.
You know,
I've heard of that before.
you heard of that once
Yes, sir.
before?
Yes, sir.
And these men had to go through certain things that just in order to go to school. Now, the first black man to actually receive the Medal of Honor was born in 1836 in a place called Santee, South Carolina, which could have been in either Clarendon County or it could have been in Orangeburg County, because at that time there was no Lake Marion to divide the counties.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And actually, he actually received the Medal of Honor.
Okay.
And if any of you have ever seen the movie called Glory, it actually depicts the first black man to be recommended for the Medal of Honor. And the little small picture up there, this is William Harvey Connie, who was born on the 29th of February, 1840 in Norfolk, Virginia. And he actually lived until December the 9th, 1908, and he's buried in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So we have a history of service.
Yes, sir.
And I don't understand how people can try to overlook service.
Right.
And if I may, I'm gonna share these two with you and be real quick about it.
You're doing fine.
This guy here is the hero at the Battle of Bunker Hill on June the 17th, 1775.
Okay.
This is Salem Poor. And you know, at that time, this country was not a nation.
Right.
It was not a nation, and
Yes, sir.
supposedly until July the 4th, 1776. He was awarded now, and I'm gonna read this too. The subscribers beg Lee to report to your honorable house, which we do in the justice to the character of so brave a man, that under our own observation, we declare that a Negro man named Salem Poor of Colonel Fry's regiment, Captain Ames' company, in the late battle at Charlestown, behaved like an experienced officer as well as an excellent soldier. To set forth the particulars of his conduct would be tedious. We would only beg leave to say that in the person of this said Negro centers a brave and gallant soldier. The reward due to so great and distinguished character we submit to the Congress. This was submitted by 14 officers, and none of them were black.
Okay.
And
What an honor. Yeah.
And this old guy here, this is James Robertson, who actually was born in 1753 in Maryland, and he lived to be 115 years old, and he passed in 1868. He's buried in Detroit, Michigan, in Elwood Cemetery, and he served in 2 wars. He served in the American Revolutionary War, and after he had served as a substitute, he was re-enslaved.
Wow.
And when Andrew Jackson had the call to arms at the Battle of New Orleans, they wanted volunteers. So he volunteered to go and participate in the Battle of New Orleans, which was fought on January the 8th of 1815, and they prevailed.
Okay.
And then he was re-enslaved. And there were some people that looked at it and said, this ain't going to happen. So those kind-hearted people, and I don't know what color they were, they said, we won't let this happen. And actually, the war from 1815, and I don't know at what point after the Battle of New Orleans, he was actually freed, but he lived to 1868, so he lived through the Civil War.
Oh, wow. Okay. And didn't have to refight again.
Didn't have to refight again. And if I may say this gentleman here is probably the greatest mathematician of all times. This is the Honorable Benjamin Banneker, who actually was born on November the 9th, 1731 in Ellicott City, Maryland, and actually invented the first American-made clock out of all wood pot. At the age of 5, his father bought a 100-acre plantation, and he wrote Benjamin at the age of 5 as a co-owner.
How about that?
And so we look at these things now. Why shouldn't children be taught? This was a 5-year-old owning land.
Yes, sir.
And I can prove everything I say. So again, I want to thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
For actually inviting me to come.
Oh, yes, sir.
And this is actually a lithograph of the Battle of New Orleans. I knew I had it somewhere, and y'all can read it. But these people on the back, that is Majestic Simpkins and Joseph Armstrong DeLane and Sister Majestica Simpkins, who home is at 1065 Marion Street in Columbia, South Carolina now, and it is a historic place. You need to go visit. And she wrote the petition for the Briggs v. Elliott case in Clarendon County.
That we talked about earlier. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
yes, sir.
So again, we just want to thank you, my brother, for reaching out and letting me share. And I would just like to say that on Saturday, I'm invited to be the Black History speaker at the Sumter County Library at 111 Harvard Street at 12 o'clock. And we hope we see y'all there.
All right. In Sumter. How about that? So I think the audience tonight sees why I was, my wife and I got an opportunity to come here in December of 2022, was invited by the mayor to come down and spend some time here at a festival, big time festival here. And we got a tour of this facility. And so certainly wanted to have the opportunity to share this African-American history message with the audience tonight. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed and learned from this, and would love for you. I think the mayor would be more than happy for you all to visit the Mary McLeod Bethune Learning Center and Art Gallery right here on Main Street in Mayesville, South Carolina. It's pretty easy to get to. Just kind of punch it in your GPS and follow the old country road until you get here. And so we're certainly glad to have them. My guest next week on the Wright Experience is going to be Dr. Kimberly Pearson Johnson. Dr. Johnson has appeared on the Wright Experience before. She is an experienced author, motivational speaker, and educational professor. Dr. Johnson's most recent book, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, is a collaboration with Dr. Bernice King, who is a daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King. We'll talk about that book and more. That show is going to air next week, Thursday, February 16, 2023, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please visit my YouTube page to join the growing number of subscribers to the show. They will give an opportunity for you to get updates and know when we're producing more content. Mr. Frierson, my friend, thank you so much for sharing with us, teaching us. Even tonight, I learned some stuff that I don't remember us talking about in December. So, my encouragement, please continue to do this work. Our folks need this. We need to learn, and no matter what hue, no matter what nationality, the work that African Americans have done right here in the state of South Carolina is absolutely amazing. And so certainly want to thank you for that. And to the Wright Experience audience, good evening.